Jorix sat by the wide window of his small room aboard the Sillery research station. Outside, stars glowed softly in the endless black. The galaxy was quiet tonight. But his heart wasn't. He stared at a blinking light on his communicator. It was a saved message. 3 words. Stay strong, Jorix. That was the last thing Liana ever said to him. Liana had been his best friend. She was human, one of the few remaining on the station before the great departure. A year ago, she left. Not because she wanted to, but because her people had decided it was time to return to Earth, far away across the stars. They said humanity had been silent for too long. It was time to rise again, to help others, to remind the galaxy that kindness, courage, and hope still had a place. Jorix understood. But understanding didn't stop the ache. He missed her laughter, her strange Earth music, the way she could turn a boring shift into an adventure with just a smile and a story. Every day since she left, Jorix felt the distance growing, not just in space, but in his heart. He didn't know how to reach her. He didn't even know if she would remember him. Sometimes he tried to record a message, but the words never came out right. Other times he walked the old garden deck, where they used to sit and talk. Flowers were still there, blooming in artificial sunlight. But they felt quiet now, like they missed her too. One evening, while checking research logs, Jorix came across a file she had once worked on. It was full of notes about old human myths, how their people had once been feared and respected, then slowly forgotten. But at the bottom, she had written something in her language. No matter how far we go, someone always remembers. Someone always hopes. Jorix read those words again and again. It felt like a light in the dark. Maybe that was humanity's strength, he thought. Not power, not weapons, but memory, hope, connection, and maybe he could still find a way to reach her. The next day, Jorix visited the communication archives. He asked the keeper if he could send a personal message to Earth. The keeper raised an eyebrow. To Earth, that's a long path, and no promise they'll answer. I know, Jorix said softly, but I need to try. Back in his room, he sat for hours, thinking about what to say. He didn't want to sound weak, but he didn't want to hide the truth either. Finally, he whispered, "Record," and he began. "Hi, Liana. I don't know if you'll ever hear this. Maybe Earth is too far. Maybe you're too busy changing the galaxy like you always dreamed. But I wanted to say I miss you." Why, he paused, tears in his eyes. "You taught me something before you left. You said humans never give up on people, even when they're far away, even when it's hard. I didn't understand it then, but I think I do now. I feel that hope every time I think of you." He took a deep breath. "I don't know what you're doing now, but if you ever wonder if anyone remembers you, if anyone cares, please remember me. I'm here. I always will be." He ended the recording. Then, with shaking hands, he sent it. For days, nothing came. But something inside Jorix had changed. He walked straighter, smiled a little more. He even went back to the garden and played one of Liana's favorite songs from her old music chip. For the first time, he felt closer to her. Then, one quiet evening, just as he was turning off the lights in his room, his communicator blinked. New message. He stared at it for a moment, afraid to open it. But when he did, he saw her face. Older, stronger, but still the same. "Jorix," she said, smiling. "I got your message. You have no idea what it meant to me. I think of you too. And you're right, we never forget. I'm coming to visit soon. Earth remembers its friends." Jorix covered his mouth, tears falling freely now, but this time they were happy ones. He looked out the window again. Stars were still there. Still distant, but now one of them carried hope. One of them carried her. And for the first time in a long time, Jorix didn't feel alone. The garden was quiet again. Jorix sat on the same old bench where he and Liana once talked about stars, dreams, and the strange stories of ancient humans. The soft lights above still shone like a warm sunrise. The flowers still opened. They're colorful. Petals. But something felt missing, like a melody without its final note, even after Liana's message. Even after hearing her voice again, Jorix felt distant. She had promised to visit, but weeks had passed, then months, and there had been no second message. He understood. Earth was far. Humans were busy rebuilding their place in the galaxy. Maybe she forgot, or maybe she didn't want to remember. He watered the flowers slowly, one by one. It was something they used to do together. Liana would hum a soft tune while he read the plant data. She said it made the flowers happier. Jorix didn't believe that at first, but now he wondered if maybe she had been right. He sat back and looked at the sky dome, where the stars moved in slow circles. He whispered to himself, "Why does it hurt more after hearing from her?" Jorix knew the answer. The first message had given him hope. It made everything feel alive again. But silence after that, it made him doubt. Was it just a moment? Was it just kindness? He tried sending another message, short, gentle, but there was no reply. Every day he walked the same path through the garden. Every day he waited for that blinking light on his communicator. It never came. His friends told him to forget. People move on, they said. It happens, but Jorix couldn't, not with Liana. She wasn't just a friend, she was the first person who made him feel that the universe was not too big to care. She saw him, even when he felt invisible. She listened when he was afraid to speak. One night, he stood at the edge of the observation deck. Ships passed in the distance. He watched one leave orbit and vanish into the stars. Human vessel, heading toward the outer colonies. He imagined her sitting inside, looking out, thinking of him too. Or maybe not, he sighed. But then he noticed something. A small girl, maybe 8 cycles old, was sitting on the floor nearby, crying. She held a broken toy in her hands. Her parents weren't around. Joe Ricks walked over slowly. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "It's broken, and I don't know how to fix it." Jorix knelt down. The toy was a little music box. Human design. He took it gently and smiled. "I think I know how this works." He remembered Liana fixing one just like it. She said humans made things not just to function but to feel something. He used her trick. Pressing gently near the joint and turning the wheel with care, the music began to play. The girl gasped, smiling through her tears. "You fixed it?" "No," Jorix said. "Someone I cared about taught me how. I just remembered." She hugged him tightly, then ran off to show her parents. Joe Ricks stood still for a moment. Something changed inside him. He had been waiting for Liana's voice, her visit, her return. But maybe the real way to reconnect was to live what she gave him. To carry it forward, maybe that was what humanity meant when they talked about never giving up. Not just on people, but on the light they left behind. That night, Jorix returned to the garden. He placed a small sign next to the path. It read, "This garden welcomes everyone. Share your stories. Share your light." Not all at once, but slowly. A young technician told stories of her brother who left for Earth. A doctor played human songs he collected from travelers. A group of students read old Earth poems and translated them into Solari. Jorix listened, smiled. He still missed Liana. That didn't change. But the feeling of loss was no longer empty. It was full of memories, of hope, of small kindnesses passed on. One quiet morning, while trimming the flowers, his communicator blinked again. New message. He opened it. There was Liana, her smile wide, her eyes soft. "I didn't forget," she said. "I was helping settle a new colony. There was no signal, but I thought of you every day." She held up a small seed. "Remember this flower? I brought one with me. It bloomed yesterday. I think it missed you too." Jorix laughed. For the first time in a long while, it wasn't broken. It was whole, he wrote back. "The garden still waits. And it's grown stronger, just like you said we would." The stars were still distant. Jorix walked through the central corridor of the research station, holding a small paper note in his hand. The paper was old, strange, and rare on a space station, but he kept it safe in a clear pouch. Liana had written it for him before she Left. We don't say goodbye. We say see you in the stars. He read those words almost every day. It had been nearly 2 full cycles since her message. She had promised to visit, but schedules were long. Travel between systems was slow, and Earth's efforts to reconnect with the galaxy kept growing. Jorix knew that. He didn't blame her. But the ache remained. He still felt far away from her, like they were standing on 2 sides of a vast glass wall. He could see her, remember her voice, even hear her messages from time to time, but he couldn't reach her. He sat in the garden again. It had changed since the early days. More people came now. More stories were shared. Jorix had even helped set up a memory wall where people could hang little notes, photos, or drawings of people they missed. The wall was full. Some messages were short. To my brother, Earth is beautiful. I'll show you someday.
Mom.
I miss your cooking. I'm learning to make your soup. I still wear your jacket. It smells like home. Jorix added his own note today. Still thinking of you. Still walking your path. He placed it next to a picture of the first flower she had planted with him. A soft voice behind him said, "It's a beautiful garden." Jorix turned. It was a young man in human clothes, traveler most likely. Yes, Jorix replied. It remembers people. The human smiled. That's what we do. We leave pieces of ourselves in others, in gardens, stories. Jorix nodded. But what if the distance feels too big? The man sat beside him. Then we build bridges, not of stone, but of kindness, memory, hope. Jorix looked down. What if the person forgets you? The human looked up at the stars. Then you remember for both of you. That's HFY, isn't it? Jorix blinked. HFY. Humanity, forever yours, the man said, grinning. It's what some of us say when we help someone and disappear again. We leave something better behind. That night, Jorix couldn't sleep. He stared at the stars from his room window, thinking maybe the human was right. Maybe he didn't need to wait for Liana to come back. Maybe he could walk the path forward and meet her there dash someday. The next day, Jorix did something he had never done before. He signed up for the Interstellar Exchange Program. It was risky. It meant leaving the station, leaving his home. It's traveling to other planets, learning new ways. It's helping other species. But he remembered her words. Humans don't wait for the world to change. They become the change. He packed light. Took the paper note. It's the music chip. A flower seed. And a dream. His first stop was a small moon station where many lost travelers gathered. The people there were tired. Some were sick. Others just looked. Lonely Joe Ricks didn't speak much. He just helped. He repaired a broken filter. He cleaned the solar panels. He shared stories of Liana in the garden. And people listened. They started planting tiny seeds in cups, drawing pictures of stars. Laughing. Again, one day a child asked him, "Why are you here?" He smiled. "I'm walking toward someone I miss." The child nodded like she understood. Joe Ricks stayed for 1 full cycle, then moved on. Each place he visited, he left something behind: a flower, a story, a note. Sometimes he received messages. From Liana, short ones. Saw your garden picture. So proud of you. I met someone who said you fixed their station. You're becoming a legend. See you in the stars, right? Ah. Every message lit up his heart. He missed her still. That never changed. But he didn't feel lost anymore. He felt like he was living her spirit. Their spirit. Humanity's spirit. Kindness, memory, courage, and always hope. On a quiet morning, while traveling through the drift sector, he received a message unlike any other. A voice broadcasted station-wide. This is Captain Liana of the Earth Peace Fleet. We are requesting docking access. Jorix froze. He ran to the window, and there, shining under the system's twin suns, was her ship. She came. He pressed his communicator to his chest. See you in the stars, he whispered, smiling through his tears. And this time, Star smiled back. Jorix stood quietly on the landing platform, watching as the Earth Peace Fleet ship lowered its landing gear. It looked just like the ones from the picture, sleek silver, glowing softly like a rising moon. People around him cheered, waved, and rushed forward. Jorix couldn't move. His heart beat fast. His hands felt cold. Liana was on that ship. She had returned. But as the doors opened and the crew stepped out, Jorix hesitated. What would he say? Would she still feel the same? What if the distance between them had become more than just space what? If it had become silence? Took a slow step forward, then stopped. Liana was surrounded by her team. She was smiling, shaking hands, speaking to the station leader. She looked strong, confident, more like a leader than the girl who once danced. Through the garden, while humming Earth songs, Jorix suddenly felt small. Out of place, he turned and quietly walked back to his room that night. The station held a welcome dinner for the human visitors. Lights hung along the garden walkway. People brought dishes from different worlds. Music played. Laughter echoed. Through the halls, Jorix sat at the edge of the gathering. Watching, he saw Liana talking to the doctors, helping a young technician with her tablet, laughing at someone's joke. She looked happy. He wondered if she even remembered the paper note. He wondered if he was just a small part of her past. He stood to leave. "Hey," a voice called behind him. Jorix froze. He turned around. Liana stood there, holding two small flower-shaped cookies on a tray. "Remember these?" she asked. He tried to make them once. They turned into rocks. Jorix laughed quietly. "Remember?" She handed him one. "Want to walk?" They walked through the garden, just like before. Path. The same soft lights. But everything felt different. Quieter, heavier. "I got your messages," she said. "All of them." He looked down. "I didn't want to bother you." "You didn't," she said gently. "They kept me going. Every time I doubted myself, I read them. But I couldn't always write back. I was afraid." Jorix looked at her in surprise. "You afraid?" She nodded. "Yes. Afraid that maybe I had changed too much. That maybe you'd moved on. That we wouldn't understand each other anymore." He blinked. "That's exactly how I felt." They stopped walking. The silence between them wasn't empty now. It was shared. Liana reached into her bag and pulled out a small box. She opened it. Inside was the same type of seed they had planted together long ago. "I brought this from Earth," she said. "It's called memory root. It only grows when it feels safe, when it feels home." Jorix took it with care. "We can plant it together," she said, "like old times." They knelt near the central tree of the garden. It's the same one they used to sit under. Together, they planted the seed. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. When they stood, Liana turned to him. "You kept this place alive. Kept me alive too, Jorix. You didn't wait. You carried the hope forward." "I only did what you taught me," he said. "No," she said, shaking her head. "You did more. You lived it. It's what it means to be human, not where you're born, but how you love, how you hold on, and how you help others rise." Jorix smiled. His heart felt lighter. "Fuller, I missed you," he said. "I missed you too." The next day, Jorix received a message from the council. They wanted him to join the Earth Peace Fleet not as a human, but as a bridge. A symbol of friendship between species, a voice of hope. He didn't answer right away. He walked back to the garden and found Liana waiting. "They want me to leave," he said. She looked at him quietly. "What do you want?" He looked around. At the flowers, the memory wall, the path they walked so many times. Then he looked at her. "I want to build more gardens." She smiled. "Then let's do it," she said. "Together." They stood under the same stars that once made him feel small and far away. Now, they felt like doors. And Jorix knew the space between people could be filled with time, with care, and with the unbreakable light of human spirit. He wasn't just reaching for someone anymore. They were walking forward together into the stars. Days turned into weeks, and Jorix traveled once again. This time, he wasn't running from sadness. He was following something, an idea, a feeling. quiet voice that told him there were still more people out there who needed someone to care. But as he moved from station to station, he still thought of Liana. They had reconnected. Yes, had planted the memory root together. Yes. But somehow, something still felt ... distant. She stayed behind at the last station to help train new ambassadors for the Earth Peace Fleet. Jorix supported the decision. She was good at it. She belonged there. She made people believe in hope. Again, but after she stayed, her messages became less frequent. The last one was short. Things are moving fast here. I miss our walks. Be safe. And then silence. Jorix stared at that message every night. He didn't know if something was wrong or if she was just busy. He didn't want to be a burden, but his heart ached. Felt like he was drifting again far. From the one person who made the stars feel warm, he tried to send a message back, then erased it. What could he say that didn't sound desperate? Instead, he focused on helping. One day he arrived at a remote outpost on the edge of the neutral zone. It was small, cold, and quiet. The people there didn't talk much. Their power was low. Their crops were failing. Most didn't believe the Earth's peace fleet would ever reach them. They forgot us, one old mechanic said. That's what the galaxy does. It forgets. Jorix didn't forget. He stayed. He taught the children how to grow plants with recycled water. He repaired broken filters, cleaned solar panels on the roof with his own hands. And he built a small garden, not big, just a circle of soil with a few green sprouts. It was enough. He placed a small sign next to it. Remember the ones who? Wait. People noticed the grumpy cook started bringing him warm bread each morning. The children painted rocks and placed them around the garden. One of the guards even brought an old human music player to the edge of the field. Slowly, the station began to feel alive again. But at night, when Jorix sat under the stars, he still felt the distance. He whispered into the quiet sky, "Do you still remember me?" Then one evening, while fixing a water pipe near the landing zone, a small ship arrived. It wasn't part of the Earth Peace Fleet, just a tiny scout. But a figure stepped out, and everything stopped. Liana, her hair was shorter now, her jacket dusty, her eyes tired. But she was there. Jorix stared at her, unsure if he was dreaming. "I didn't know if I should come," she said softly. "I was afraid." He stood slowly, afraid. "That maybe I waited too long." She said that maybe you'd moved on. Jorix looked at her for a moment, then smiled. "I didn't move on," he said. "I moved forward. And I hoped you'd catch up." She stepped closer. "Why didn't you send a message?" "I didn't know what to say." "Me too," she whispered. "But maybe we don't need words." They sat near the garden as the stars blinked above. Neither spoke for a long time. Then Liana reached into her bag and pulled out something familiar. Small glass jar, filled with soil from their first garden. "I carried this with me," she said. "Everywhere. Even when I couldn't write. You were always with me." Jorix took the jar and held it close. And suddenly, the distance was gone. The next morning, they worked side by side. They expanded the garden, talked with the villagers, laughed with the children. A little girl tugged at Jorix's hand and pointed to Liana. "Is she your star friend?" Smiled. "Yes," and she came back. The girl smiled wide. Then she must be real. That night, as the wind passed gently over the outpost, Jorix and Liana stood at the edge of the garden. Watching the memory root bloom under moonlight, he looked at her. "Do you still believe in HFY?" She nodded, now more than ever. "It's not because we never fall apart, but because we keep finding each other again." They stood together, not needing to say more. The stars above were quiet, but in their silence a new hope was growing. Jorix sat by the window of the outpost tower, watching the stars turn slowly across the sky. The night was quiet. The garden below glowed faintly in the moonlight. Small flowers swayed gently in the wind, like they were whispering secrets to each other. But Jorix didn't feel at peace tonight. Liana had left again. She came to visit. She stayed a little while. They rebuilt the garden. They laughed and shared memories. For a few bright days, It felt like the past was alive again. But Earth needed her. A new mission, new colony, a new chance to bring hope to a distant world. She hugged him tightly before she left and whispered, "I'll return, I promise." Nodded and told her, "Be safe." But after she left, he sat for a long time in the empty garden, staring at the small patch where they had planted a new memory root together. The soil was still soft, but the seed had not sprouted. He whispered to it, "You're not alone. She'll come back." Just like before, days passed, and weeks. The seed didn't grow, and Liana didn't send a message. He told himself she was busy, that she hadn't forgotten him, that she was probably out of signal range, deep in unknown space. But in the quiet hours of the night, doubt returned. What if she moved on? What if their time together was only a pause in a much bigger journey hers? He didn't want to believe it, but he felt the ache inside again, the same one from before. It's the ache of being close once and far again. To fill the silence, Jorx worked harder. He repaired the wind turbines. He helped the schoolteacher install a reading light for the children. He organized a small festival with music and stories from Earth and other worlds. People smiled as the outpost felt warmer, but his heart still felt cold. One evening after another, long day, he sat in the garden and pulled out his old communicator. The messages from Liana were still saved, her voice, her pictures, her promise. He thought of sending another message, but what would he say? Before he could decide, a small boy from the village walked up. He held a glowing rock in his hand and looked up at Jorix with wide eyes. "Is this magic?" the boy asked. Jorix took the rock and smiled. "It's not magic. Just Earth tech. It stores light." The boy sat next to him. "Can it store feelings too?" Jorix thought for a moment. Then he nodded. Double quotes, "Yes, I think it can." The boy grinned. "Then keep it safe. Maybe it'll bring your friend back." And with that, he ran off. Jorix held the glowing rock close. He felt something stir in him, a tiny flicker of warmth. Maybe the boy was right. Maybe memories were a kind of light too. And maybe, even if Liana couldn't hear him, he could still speak through the things they shared. Flowers, the stories, the hope they planted. He got up and walked to the memory wall. It was filled now paintings, letters, pressed flowers, even carved stones with names. He placed the glowing rock in the center. Then picked up a pen and wrote on a small card, "Even from far away, your light still reaches me." The next morning, something strange happened. The memory root had sprouted, a single green leaf. Stretching toward the sky, he knelt beside it and gently touched the stem. "You felt it, didn't you?" He whispered, "She's still with us, even when she's far." At that moment, his communicator blinked. New message. His hand shook as he opened it. Liana's face appeared on the screen, tired, dusty, but smiling. "Jorix," she said, "her?" Voice soft. "I wanted to write sooner, but our ship hit a storm. We lost signal. I thought of you every day. I wasn't sure if you'd still be there when I came back." She paused. "But I'm coming. I'm already on the way." Jorix laughed. Through tears, "You always come back," he whispered. He ran to the village square and rang the old bell. The people came, curious and sleepy. "She's coming back," he shouted. "Liana's coming." The children cheered. The adults smiled, and Jorix looked up at the sky. It was still wide, still full of stars, still full of silence. But now it felt like it was carrying something more, something strong. Not just a signal, but a promise. A light from far away. A light called hope. The wind was gentle that morning. Jorix stood in the middle of the garden, watching the memory root as it stretched taller, its leaves now bright green and full of life. Around him, the outpost was waking up. Children laughed near the schoolhouse. A cook hummed as she stirred morning stew. Lights flickered on across the rooftops. But Jorix wasn't focused on any of that. He kept looking up at the sky. "She said she's coming," he whispered to the flower. "But every minute feels like a whole day." It had been 3 days since Liana's message. 3 days since she said she was returning. His heart beat faster with every passing hour, but also, it hurt a little. Quiet fear still lived inside him. What if something delayed her again? What if something changed between them? What if after everything the distance returned? Shook his head, trying to push the thoughts away. Instead, he walked the garden path and checked each plant. The children had helped him water the sprouts yesterday. Someone had even left a new drawing on the memory wall, a picture of Jorix and Liana standing under the stars, holding a glowing flower between them. It made him smile. That's when the bell rang. He froze. The bell only rang when a ship approached. The outpost. He ran to the watchtower. Heart pounding, there breaking through the clouds was a small silver ship, its lights blinking in slow rhythm. The same rhythm used by the Earth Peace Fleet. The same pattern she once taught him. "Hello, friend. I'm here." Jorix laughed. His voice broke with joy. He rushed to the landing pad, trying to look calm, but he couldn't stop smiling. The ship touched down slowly. Steam hissed from the sides. The door opened, and there she was. Liana. She wore the same dusty jacket. Her boots were scratched. Her hair was windswept. But her eyes, those bright, honest eyes, met his the second she stepped out. Neither of them moved at first. Then she walked forward, and he did too. They met in the middle. And she dropped her bag as he reached for her hand. "I kept my promise," she said softly. "I know," he replied, tears in his eyes. "I never stopped waiting." She smiled through her own tears. "I never stopped hoping." They stood there for a long time, the village quiet around them. People watched from windows, smiling. Then Liana looked toward the garden. "Is that the memory route we planted?" Jorix nodded. "Bloomed 2 days after your message." Like it knew, she walked with him to the garden path. They knelt beside the plant. Its leaves shimmered slightly under the morning sun. Liana touched the stem gently. "You kept it alive, just like you kept me alive through your messages. Your stories, your hope." Jorix shook his head. "I was afraid. So many times. Afraid I lost you. But you didn't give up," she said. "That's what matters." He looked at her, really looked at her. "What happens now?" Liana took a deep breath. "I've traveled across stars, Jorix. I've seen planets rise and fall. But this place, this garden, this little outpost, it's more alive than all of them because you made it a home." She reached into her bag and pulled out a new seed. "This is from Earth's central garden. Only trusted ambassadors are given one. I saved it for when I found the right place." She placed the seed in his hand. "I want to stay," she said. "Not forever, maybe, but long enough to grow something real again." Jorix felt tears in his eyes. "I'd like that," he said quietly, "more than anything." He planted the new seed together, side by side. Children gathered to watch. The elders came to help. And soon, a new patch of soil was ready for what would grow next. Later that evening, lights glowed softly through the village. Music played, people danced. And Jorix and Liana sat on the garden bench beneath the stars. "Do you think we'll still drift apart someday?" he asked. Liana looked up. "Maybe. That's life. People move, paths twist. But if we carry each other in the way we speak, the way we help others, the way we remember, don't." She looked at him. "Then we're never really far." Jorix smiled. "That's HFY, he said. She nodded. "Hope. Friendship." They laughed together, and above them, the stars blinked quietly. Not as a reminder of distance, but as lights in a sky that connected everyone, no matter how far they traveled, no matter how long they waited. Because when hearts remember and hope stays alive, no one is ever truly lost, and love always finds its way home.